Very good morning to all my dear students. I welcome you all into the Industrial Pharmacy 2. So students, we are on to the topic regulatory affairs. So regulatory affair that is associated with that of the approval processes, with that of the various agencies which will regulate the overall process of pharmaceutical approvals, manufacturings, clinical trials, and various studies. Now, in the line of the same, today we will discuss few of the aspects associated with the clinical research and the BE studies. So BE, that is nothing but the bioequivalence. Clinical trial or clinical research, it is the particular area where the trials that will goes on onto the human beings in case of any new kind of drug, in case of any new use of drug or any new formulation, and the study need to be submitted to the regulatory authorities in order to get approval and green signal so that the product that can be used. B bioequivalence studies, that is nothing but the bio, that means it is related with that of the living human beings. Equivalence that refers to that of the balance, equivalence that refers to that of the similarities, equivalence that refers to that of the equal properties. Now, what is clinical research? What are the overall aspects? The overall idea how the research that is to be carried out? What are the different phases? What are the different personas that are involved? And how the overall process of clinical research that will take place, that we have to see in our today's lecture. At the same time, we will going to touch some of the aspects associated with the bioequivalence, like say the different types of bioequivalence, what they are, their definitions, what is in vivo and what is in vitro bioequivalence studies. As such, if we see the clinical research itself and bioequivalence itself, it is such a vast area, it is such a vast subject that hardly it could be possible to cover all the aspects associated with these in just one or two or few lectures. It itself is a subject, right? But as the topic is included into the regulatory affair and as it is the part of this regulatory processes, so we have to see briefly what these are. So let's move through the content of our today's talk. So that deals with the definition of the clinical research, clinical trial, what is the importance of the clinical research, the different types of the clinical trials, the different phases of the clinical trials, the various players in clinical trials, the overview of the processes, and last but not the least, the summary. As far as bioequivalence studies are concerned, its definition, its requirement, its objectives, and its types. So this will be the protocol for our today's talk. Let us see that what clinical research is. Now, if we see this clinical research, it is the branch of medical science, right? So what is to be done in case of clinical research? The clinical trials that are going to be carried out. And what these clinical trials are? These clinical trials are nothing but these systematic, observational, and experimental biomedical studies that is to be performed. These are systematic, these are planned, these are accordance with that of the standard procedures. So that's why it is systematic. Observational, the different observations that need to be taken, that need to be noted down. Experimental, the experiments need to be carried out onto the group of population of the subjects or the volunteers or the patients. Now, the ultimate goal behind the process of clinical research, that is to improve the quality of life, that is to improve the quality of an individual, of an human being. Now, clinical trial, it is one form of clinical research, and it is, as I said, that systematic, experimental, and the biomedical studies. And the purpose behind carrying out the clinical trial is to evaluate the effectiveness and safety of medications or medical devices and biologics. So what we are ensuring through the clinical trial, we are ensuring that the product, the medication, it is not only applicable to the dosage form or medication, it is applicable to that of the all biological products. These are obtained from that of the biological sources. And the medical devices, like say the catguts, like say the stents, right? So all these need to be carefully evaluated by performing systematic, experimental, and the biomedical studies. And based on that, they will be applied for the process of getting approval. Now, in case of clinical research, there are three different important keywords, that is experimental unit, treatment, and evaluation. So, experimental unit, that is nothing but the healthy volunteers or the subjects to which we are giving the investigational product for the process of treatment, cure, mitigation, or improvement of the functions. And after giving the drug or the investigational product or investigational drug, that is to be evaluated, that how and what results that are going to be obtained. Now, on to which particular product or in which particular case the clinical research that is carried out. So it is applicable in case if there is any new technique for screening and diagnosis of a disease that is to be introduced or that need to be introduced. So in that case, the clinical trials that became necessary. Whenever we want to introduce any new kind of drug to the market, which was not previously known, which was not previously used, in that case, the trials are necessary. Whenever we want to introduce any new method for the process of surgery, like say the radiation therapy that is already known. But suppose if we want to improve this radiation or if we want to introduce some another kind of therapy, then in that case, there is a need to perform the clinical trial to obtain the data, and based on data, the conclusion that can be made that the new method which is to be introduced for surgery, that is safe, effective, and efficacious. New approaches for the radiation therapy. Again, it is same as what I talked to you just now. Suppose if we want to use any new kind of radiation, in that case, there is a need to go for the clinical trial. New combination of standard treatment, like say the two different radiations are already known. Then if we want to combine these, in order to ensure the effectiveness and safety in that new combined method, there is need to get the trials and to obtain the results. Nowadays, there is more and more focus onto the use of peptide molecules, onto the use of DNA molecules, onto the use of RNA molecules. So this became this is going to be totally changing the kind of therapy. That is what is said to be the gene therapy. And one of the promising gene therapy which had given the results, that is the SCID treatment, that is the treating the severe combined immunodeficiency syndrome. So all these are the cases where the clinical trials that became the necessary. Now if we see the types of clinical researches, there are two broad categories based on the different aspects. Now based on the researcher's behavior, the clinical research, that is either of observational study or it is the interventional study, and based on the purpose, either it is prevention trial, screening trial, diagnostic trials, treatment trials, quality of life improvement trials, and compassionate use trials. So the name themselves are self-explanatory. So observational study that involve to observe the results. Interventional, anything new that you want to introduce or intervene. If you want to prevent certain kind of disease or disorder, there is a need to go for the prevention trials. Screening trials, if new disease like say the COVID-19 and all, diagnostic treatment. So all these are applicable to the COVID-19, where we have to go for screening, we have to go for identifying the proper way of diagnosis. Continuously, we need to work on to it in order to improve the processes and to study some new molecules or already existing molecule like say the dexamethasone or remdesivir or hydroxychloroquine, as they are going to be the drugs that are tried in case of treatment of the COVID-19. In order to improve the quality of life, how to extend the life of an individual or how to improve the life of an individual. If you see the different phases through which the clinical trials that will go, so that is phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Now I will not go into the details of all these because already in our previous lecture and earlier lectures we had gone through all these. Now the most important, that is the phase 0. Phase 0, that is to be performed in order to ensure the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic effect, or to obtain the pharmacokinetic and the pharmacodynamic effect, and it is to be done before the phase 1, phase 2 and the phase 3. So if we get the promising results as far as the kinetic and dynamic results are concerned, then we can go with the 1, 2, 3. which is to be performed onto the human beings. So as we will move from 1 to 3 to 4, the number of users that will goes on increasing. Earlier it is, in case of phase 0, it is 0 to 20. In case of phase 1, it is 20 to 100. In case of phase 2, it is 100 to 300. And in case of phase 3, 300 to thousands, or multiples of the thousands. Whereas phase 4, that is nothing but the large number of population, right? So where the actual, after getting approval, the phase 4 study that is to be performed. So that is the post-marketing surveillance. Now, which are the different players that will play an important role in case of the clinical trial? Now, if you see all these different players, the topmost is the regulators, that is the regulatory bodies like CDFDA and the CESUs. Then there is a sponsors. Sponsors, these are nothing but the pharmaceutical manufacturers or the companies. The CRO, that is the clinical research organizations, the organization which are involved in the process of carrying out the clinical researches. Then there will be the medical directors, project managers, clinical research agencies, and the regulatory personnel. Then there are investigators, sub-investigators, which are nothing but the physicians who actually perform these studies. Then there are clinical research associates, and there is a subject. Now, in between these, there is a IRB, that is the Institutional Review Board, which continuously remains in touch with that of the investigators. So all these regulators, all these players, they play a significant and important role in case of the clinical trials. If you see the overall process, that how clinical trial that need to be performed, so that begins with the process which is said to be the study design. The study design that include that which will be the target population, what will be the age, what will be the gender, how the study need to be performed, and all SOPs, standard procedures that is to be designed and maintained at this particular stage, that is the study design. Then there is a design study document. So all the documents related with the clinical trial that will be performed at this stage, these will be applied to the regulatory authorities. There it will be notified, and in accordance with that of the requirements of the regulatory authority, these documents need to be prepared. Then there is an investigator selection. So out of a large number of population of the physicians, there is need to go for selecting, choosing personnel, physician, which will be having the relevant experience and which is having the exposure to that of the different kinds of the patients, or who are going to be treating or handling the patients. So they will be treated as the investigator, and they should be selected based on their area of expertise, based on their experience. Then there is a ethical committee. So ethical committee that will review over all the processes, and they will find and they will ensure that all the ethics that is to be followed, the study that is to be performed in accordance with that of the ethical guidelines, the consent that had been taken from all the participants or the subjects. So after getting the approval letter from the ethical committee, there is a meeting arranged with that of the investigators, which are the physicians. Then there is a selection of the site. So that is the site initiation, where particularly in which particular hospital the study that is to be performed. Then it is continuously monitored. Now this monitoring, that is in case of the hospital in association with that of the clinical research associates. So that involves the process of enrolling the patients onto which this study need to be performed, and from these patients the consent that is to be taken. So all the processes that need to be clearly explained to all the patients. that what the study is to be performed, how it is to be performed, what will be the consequences of all these studies, and after getting the consent from the patient only they should be included. Then this data that is to be continuously provided and that should be properly managed. The regular follow-ups and the visits that need to be taken, and after that it will end the clinical trial. After monitoring what are the data that is to be obtained, that would be compiled and that would be represented in the form of the presentation, that is said to be the data representation. The statistical data that is to be submitted and which leads to ultimately drawing the final conclusion that what is the result or what will be the effects, what will be the outcomes of these clinical trials. So this is the general overview associated with that of the clinical trial process, that how it is to be performed and how it is to be carried out. Now what happened during the clinical trial, that is most important, because every trial that may not be giving the desired results or the benefits. Sometimes there are certain hazards, right? So depending on the kind of the trial that is being conducted, there is a need to include the doctors, like say investigators, nurses, healthcare, and the professionals. So these also are important as the patients are important. So these are also human beings. So their care is also important, that the trial should not affect their health. There is a need to monitor the participant carefully during the trial and stay in touch after the trial is completed. The duty will not end only during the process of trial. As the drug had been given, the drug had entered into the body, the drug that will be having its half-life. So it will remain inside of the body of the participant, subjects, patients. So once the study is over, the participant that should continuously remain in touch. The clinical trial that's successful when the protocol is carefully followed. There should not be any kind of deviation from that of the protocol. Some trial that will involve the interviews, questionnaires, or surveys of the interventional treatment. The summary, if you see the clinical research that will involve all the processes through which the testing article is tested for its effectiveness and safety of the human use. They will ensure the complete safety of the volunteers, and that is to be highly monitored and regulated. So it is the ultimate goal, it is the ultimate aim and objective of any kind of the clinical study, that the testing or the drug which is to be tested, that should remain effective and safe. At the same time, the safety of the volunteer, that is important, and all the process that should be strictly regulated and highly monitored. Bioequivalence, the bioequivalence that refers to the drug substance in two or more identical dosage form that will reach the systemic circulation at the same rate and to the same relative extent. So bioequivalence, as I said, that it is the equivalence, it is the similarity, it is the it is the equalness of the two different dosage forms. Let's say, for example, the two different dosage form of the paracetamol, there is a tablet, there is a capsule, or there is a suspension, right? So how these different dosage form of the same drug they are going to be performing. And bioequivalence, that is generally related with that of the rate and extent. That is, at what particular rate the drug that is going to be released and what is the relative extent of release of the drug, that is the duration. If you see tablet, capsule, and the liquid dosage form, the rate of release that will goes on increasing from tablet to capsule to the liquid dosage form. Liquid dosage form, they will be having the high drug release, that is the onset of action, and extent of release, that is uh, the liquid dosage form they will quickly release, the capsule they will take slight more time, and the tablet they will take more time than that of the capsule. So that means it is their plasma drug concentration time profile that will be identical without significant statistical differences. So what two dosage form we are giving? So these two dosage form, they should not have a significant difference as far as their release pattern is concerned. If it is there, then we can say that these two different type of dosage form, they are bioequivalent. And if their release pattern that is not even, then we cannot say that these are bioequivalent. What are the advantages of doing these bioequivalence studies? They will minimize the effect of inter-subject variability, they will minimize the carryover effect, and they will require the less number of the subject to get the meaningful result. The disadvantage is that it will require the longer time to complete this study. The completion of these studies that will depend on the number of formulations that is to be evaluated in the studies. If number of formulations are more, again it will take much more time. Increase in study period lead to high subject dropouts. The people, they cannot go for adhering to the study, so few they may leave. So that's why the study that is to be performed without having much more study time period. Medical ethics does not allow too many trials on a subject continuously for a longer time. Again, there is an ethical issue. On the subject, you cannot go with the so many trials and for longer time duration, because these are the human lives. As far as the requirement and the objectives are concerned, when these need to be studied, bioequivalence studies, if a new product that is intended to be substitute for an approved medicinal product as a pharmaceutical equivalent or alternative, the equivalence with this product should be shown or justified. If new product we are going to be introducing, like say new formulation of the paracetamol, this new formulation that should be shown or that should be justified that it will be giving same results to that of the previous one or the better result than that of the already existing marketed product. In order to ensure clinical performance of such drug products, bioequivalence studies should be performed. Bioequivalence studies are conducted if there is a risk of the bioequivalence and or the risk of pharmacotherapeutic failure or diminished clinical safety. In these cases, this study needs to be performed. Some of the important terms relevant in this context that will be defined, like say the equivalence. Equivalence means what? It is a relative term that compares the drug products with respect to a specific characteristic or the function or to a defined set of standards. That is nothing but the equivalence. And based on this, that is the specific characteristics, there are four different types of the bioequivalence studies. There is a chemical equivalence, there is a pharmaceutical equivalence, there is a bioequivalence, and there is a therapeutic equivalence. Therapeutic equivalence, that is the therapeutic effect, pharmacological effect. Bioequivalence, how the drug that will get released inside of the body. Pharmaceutical equivalence, the release characteristics. And the chemical equivalence, the kind of the drug and its appearance into the systemic circulation. So chemical equivalence, it will indicate that two or more drug products, they will contain the same labeled chemical substance as an active ingredient in the same amount. What it is? It is the two or more drug product that will contain the same label substance, like say the chloromycetin or say chloramphenicol. Chloramphenicol, that is remaining into the same amount into the two different products. So the same drug into the same amount in the different formulations. That is the chemical equivalence. We can say that these are chemically equivalent. Pharmaceutical equivalence, this term implies that two or more drug products that are identical in strength, quality, purity, content, uniformity, disintegration, dissolution characteristic, they may however differ in containing the different excipients. That is the two different formulation manufactured by the two different pharmaceutical manufacturers. Although they may include all these processes, but their way, their method, their process, that might be different. So this will be having its effect onto that of the equivalence. Bioequivalence, it is a relative term which denotes that the drug substances in two or more identical dosage form reaches the systemic circulation at the same relative rate and extent or the same relative extent their plasma concentration. So this means that whatever will be the concentration, whatever will be the formulation, whatever will be the manufacturer. What is the release pattern of the drug? If both drugs they will be showing the same kind of release, then we can say these two drugs are the, or these two formulations are the bioequivalent. Now, when statistically significant differences are observed in the bioavailability of the two or more drug products, bioequivalence is indicated. If there is a difference into the release pattern, or if the required concentration that is not reaching to that of the systemic circulation, then we can say these are not bioequivalent, or there is a bioinequivalence. There is a bioinequivalence, right? Therapeutic equivalence, this term indicates that two or more drug products that contain the same therapeutically active ingredient that will elicit identical pharmacological effects and can control the disease to the same extent, right? So that contain the same therapeutically active ingredient. That is the two different ingredient. They will be act by different ways, right? But they will shows the identical pharmacological effect and they will controls the disease in the same extent. Now there is a in vivo and in vitro bioequivalence. So in vivo, that is to be performed onto the oral immediate release product with the systemic action, and it is indicated for the serious conditions that will requiring the assured response for the narrow therapeutic margin. So pharmacokinetic, that is complicated by more than 70% absorption window, and the non-linear kinetic, that is the pre-systemic elimination, that is less than that, more than that of the 70%. Unfavorable physicochemical properties, for example, low solubility, metastable modification, and instability. The documented evidence for the bioavailability problem are there. No relevant data that is available unless justification by the applicant that in vivo study is not necessary. Non-oral immediate release product and the modified release product with the systemic action. For them, the studies are to be performed, and these are of pharmacokinetic and the pharmacodynamic type. Pharmacokinetic, that is related with that of the plasma concentration and the urinary concentration, and the dynamic study, that is associated with the therapeutic response and the pharmacological